Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 2. And today I'm going to be giving you part 42 of What If Izuna Uchiha was Naruto Ancestor. Remember to get this one to 100 like as usual, share this to all of your friends on your social media platform. And go ahead and check out the new episode of What If Naruto was a badass genius that I posted over on Anime King. And I also posted a new episode of What If Naruto was sent to the Marvel world, so go ahead and enjoy that guys. And on this channel I post a brand new episode of What If Naruto was a smart project, so go ahead and check out that as well guys. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time hearing my voice and you enjoy the videos on both Anime King and Anime King 2, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and your support, and remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. So yeah, without further ado, let's begin this new episode. Start the intro.
I think the girls with their nails done now. Girls with their nails done. I think the girls with their nails.
So, the last time we left off, Naruto was talking with his family. They were talking until they switched the situation to the night of his birth, as Minato told him that Obito Uchiha was under the mask, pretending to be that masked guy. But, it is not Obito Uchiha anymore because he killed him that night, as Naruto was beyond shocked to hear that. If Minato killed Obito that night, the masked man, then who the hell is Tobi? 6 months then pass, as a lot of things has happened in that 6 months. Sasuke has been fighting to protect the empire, as he alone and the other soldiers have been standing, and Sasuke have been working extra hard to keep everyone safe, as him and Hinata were talking. As Sasuke had tried everything to protect the place, Kurenai and Sakura were locked up same way under surveillance, as Haku wanted to kill them instantly after what happened to Naruto, but the others plead for them, such as Kakashi and Tsunade, to allow them to stay alive, as they knew if Naruto would ever wake up, he wouldn't want to hear what happened. As Haku was watching over Naruto as he was strapped up to a lot of machines. It was thanks to Tsunade that his body was back to normal, but from the medical experience part, she told her that Naruto was literally brain dead. As many other medical names said, it would be best to just take him out of his trouble right now and pull the plug, because he will never wake up. As Haku placed her hand on her stomach, which was pretty huge, as she will give birth anytime soon now. But her husband Naruto doesn't look like he was going to wake up to see it. We then skip to the rebellion camp, as Shino has been called the magician, saying that he was the only one in history to be able to take down Naruto, as his name has spread far and wide. As Shino wants to do a plan, something that Temaru was against, but she has to do it, seeing that she was a big part of this rebellion, to take down the Sarutobi fortress. That is what Naruto called the fortress, as it's in between the rebellion and the Reich, but Gaara was leading that fortress. So Shino came up with a plan, and he also wanted to stop all of this chaos. If he could talk to them and somehow merge with the Reich, he wanted to do that. Shikamaru was also named the new Hokage, as the plan then set out, as Gaara was informed that 200 rebellion soldiers are trying to flee from the rebellion, as he was confused, as he also saw his brother and sister in there as well was trying to flee from the rebellion. So yeah guys, that was basically the last part we left off. You guys can choose across the page to check it out for yourself, so let's start this new episode. We begin this a young boy as he was wearing an Anvu mask, the mask of a monkey. He was quite anxious, as he was going to be in the upcoming battle. He was currently the last heir of his clan, as his only sense of comfort was his supreme commander. The sheer presence of Shino Abermi was enough to calm down Konohamaru's nerve. They finally moved, said Shino, snapping Konohamaru out of his trance. He moved forward as he observed the enemy forces with his binoculars. To his utter surprise, the enemy forces were moving in the same manner as Shino predicted. "Commander, this is," Konohamaru said. Don't lose it, monkey. No matter the advantage you have in battle, never underestimate the enemy's decision and desire to win. Sir, said Konohamaru, we will go forward with the established plan. First group, charge, said Shino, his voice broadcasting over the communication devices towards his forces as he saw his forces merge together and start to charge towards the enemy force main, the one that was commandeered by Gaara. So it begins, he said. Gaara had a neutral look on his face, as it was a trap, as he already knew that, as he saw, leading the group was Temari and Kankuro. Gaara-sama, said Amon, one of Gaara's subordinate. He was second in command. Yes, their trap was too obvious from the start. If they want to die, I shall grant their wish. Allow battle formation. The 1st and the 2nd Battalion are ordered to stay clear from the path. Allow them to advance to this front. You mean evade the enemy? Asked Amon. Yes, Gaara said. But what if they already engage the enemy? Then we will take countermeasures. For now, execute the orders given to you, Captain Amon, said Gaara. We will do as you say, sir, said Amon. As Gaara was on an elevated platform, as he could easily observe the entire battlefield clearly. As Gaara looked into his sister's eyes, to think she had no qualms in sacrificing her soldiers for glory. As Gaara stared at the 4,000 battle-ready soldiers under his command, they had trusted their life to him. He would never betray the trust with these men and Naruto put in him. Commander, enemy forces has entered into the red zone. Contact in 40 seconds, said Captain Amon, as Gaara simply nodded, as he spotted his elder brother and sister enter in the red zone, as he took a breath in and out. As he extended his hand forward, as a wild wind started to circle around the battlefield. Tsunarashi, sandstorm. The dirt and the dust on the battlefield was quickly lifted up by the strong winds, as the enemy troops found themselves surrounded in raging tornadoes. They started to scream out in pain and agony as the sharp winds sliced many of them apart. Several were injured. The attack shattered the front line. Since Temari couldn't just order her entire line to charge over the injured bodies, they came to a stop. Her eyes connected with Gaara. Yet again he raised his arm, fearing another attack from her brother. As he raised his arm, she prepared herself to do something, but he said, "Fire!" As rains of explosions started to come down, as the Reich soldiers that were littered on the wall of the Sarutobi fortress was raining down arrows with explosive tags. "Don't falter! Charge and crush them!" screamed the resistance leader, as Temari took out her final channel massive chakra through it. She was a Kazekage and she would not lose to her younger brother. Around her, fighters were getting slaughtered due to the arrows raining down on them. And the Reich force has not even made a move yet, as they were just watching. "Sick Weasel technique," she said. Using the wings created by Gaara, she generated a raging tornado and sent it towards the Reich soldiers' front line. But her attack was blocked by a wall of sand to protect the Reich soldiers as she grit her teeth. Before she could think of another move, she heard a scream that made her blood run cold. Turning towards her right, she was horrified to see Kankuro enveloped in sand. She knew exactly what her brother was caught in. She looked towards her younger brother. She pleaded for him not to do it, but he ran out of mercy to spear. "Sand burial." "No!" she screamed out. She stared in horror as blood rained down. Everyone was dying. "Kazekage, we can't take much more of this. We have to fall back now," Baki said. If not for him shielding her, she'd have probably been dead by now, as her army was on the bridge of complete collapse. And then there was Gaara. "Retreat," she said. Gaara simply closed his eyes, as he was holding in the sadness for ending Kankuro's life. If only they were not so foolish, and now watching her and her remaining force flee. It just made him even more sad. Within minutes, more than 2,000 resistance soldiers were killed. Even Temari, that was a stupid and brute nonsense attack. Did she even consider how many fathers, brothers, and sons she killed for her stupid ambition of power? That stupid woman. It's time to pay, Temari, thought Gaara. Amon, are the 1st and 2nd battalions in position? Yes, sir, they're waiting orders. The retreating enemy forces will make contact with them soon. Very well, start the attack. Charge, Gaara said. As soon as those words escaped from Gaara's lips, the fate of the battle was sealed, as the resistance force was attacked from the front and the back, as they surrounded the entire force, cutting off any route from escape. And then the order of complete annihilation was given by Gaara. Meanwhile, Konohamaru watched as the battle quickly turned, as thousands of resistance soldiers were being slaughtered. As he looked towards Shino, who had the same look on his face, it was like, as expected, said Shino. You truly are a talented warrior, Gaara. Commander, what are you? But Konohamaru was cut off, as Shino raised a hand silencing him. Konohamaru was a skilled fighter, but he has a short temper, as he could still remember the sacrifice that Hiruzen Sarutobi gave all those years ago. In honor of their former leader, he took Konohamaru under his wings so he wouldn't end up in a quick, early death. So many have already died, there was no need for young people like him to die in this feudal war. They were the future, after all. As it stands, the sand-resistant forces will be wiped out if we don't intervene. We simply can't let our comrades die like that, said Shino. As this was a plan, it was time for them to move. Order the Kiri forces to split into two groups of 3,000 fighters, attack the enemies first and second from behind, said Shino. But sir, the original plan was to have the Black Lancers attack from the flank by engaging the 2nd Battalion. The Kiri forces had a total of 6,000 fighters, almost as much as the Black Lancers. By dividing them, won't their firepower be reduced? Asked Konohamaru. Who's in charge here, monkey? Asked Konohamaru. You are, sir. Then follow my orders, is that clear? Yes, sir, said Konohamaru, as Konohamaru saluted and sprinted away to fulfill the assignments given to him. Suddenly, Neji came beside Shino. You're really going forward with it, aren't you? Shino didn't say anything as he just watched me. 6,000 shinobis split into two groups. Within moments, Gaara's force that surrounded Temara's force from behind was attacked, as it showed that the Reich soldiers are not prepared for that and their front lines start to collapse. If this go on, Temara and her man will die, said Neji. History always demands ultimate amount of blood. If we are to capture this tower, there will be a lot of casualties. You have seen how capable of a commander Gaara is. I'll take full responsibility for this operation, said Shino. As expected. Commander, the Sand forces are on the verge of completely extermination. The Kazekage has lost, shouted a nearby Anfu. How much damage did the enemy suffer, Shino asked. Nearly 40% of the enemy 1st and 2nd Battalion was eliminated. Mei also lost 10% of our forces in the battle, but the Kazekage, said Neji sadly. It's unavoidable. As it stands now, Gaara merely has 6,500 soldiers, while Mei has 5,400 left. Order all of her soldiers to attack the remaining forces now, said Shino. Shino, the Mizukage is asking about the whereabouts of the Black Lancers. She said that they cannot move without support, said Neji. Tell her reinforcements are on the way, but if she maintains distance and Gaara take the charge, it will be another massacre. The only way for us to prevent Gaara from using his power is to fill the battlefield of soldiers from both sides. He won't be able to unleash his true strength and his man will get caught in the attacks, Shino explained. What is the status of Valkyrie squadrons? Asked Shino. They're in positions, waiting your orders, Commander. Mei forces have started their full frontal attack. The archers in the Reich are being resupplied. If they start a fire, it will be same as before. If we were to make a move, it would be now. Now is the time, said Neji. Shino tapped his chin. Currently Gaara and Mei forces were in a messy battle. The Reich commander has the size forces, but Mei was relentless. Shino grabbed his sword and his battle gear as he turned and looked towards Neji. Exactly after 7 minutes, order the Valkyrie bombers to launch an all-out attack, Shino said. Our own men are on the battlefield. Mei is there, argued Neji, but he flinched when Shino glared at him. Exactly the reason why they're to launch. If we are to capture this fortress and achieve peace with the Reich, the stubborn Kages must be out of the picture. As far as killing our own soldiers, the attack will also deal great damage to Gaara forces. In order to do that, this is necessary. Follow the order, Shino said. Neji was silent for a few moments. He could see the logic, but the people that were being killed was also their own soldiers. But sacrifices had to be made. I understand. We will follow your orders, Commander, Neji said. Shino gave a nod and walked away, as Neji could only watch him as he wondered how history will remember the actions of Shino Abermi, because today he will unleash a new warfare that has never even seen before in mankind. Meanwhile, Gaara gritted his teeth as Mei once again crushed one of his other lines. As her and her man were out for blood, he gathered his chakra. Sand Shuriken. Hundreds of sand shurikens came from the ground and flew towards the resistance. Water release. Water bully technique. Mei quickly countered his attack by saving a lot of her soldiers from quick deaths. She was surprised when there was movement in front of her, and two identical Gaaras rose from the ground. Sand clones, Mei thought. So the commander thinks that his clones are enough to defeat the Mizukage. How naive the young are, said Mei. Goes to show how overconfident the old Reich are, said Gaara, as Mei eyebrow twitched. Owl? As fighters on both sides took a few steps back as she exploded with pure rage. Her entire body got covered in chakra as she glared at Gaara clones. In a flash, she appeared beside them and beheaded them in a brutal manner. Even the real Gaara was surprised in the sudden burst of NJ and Mei, but before any of them could make another move, rumbling could be heard in the sky. She looked up, and what she saw made her heart stop. Her rage turned to pure fear as she spotted the Valkyrie bombers right on top of them, and they are the fire line of the resistance. Latest weapons. Take cover, she shouted. Gaara saw a hail of shells falling down in the battlefield. He quickly slammed his hands together and gathered every ounce of chakra inside his body. Sand wall, he said, as a massive explosion shook the entire place. As the explosion enveloped hundreds, ending life in seconds. As Matsuri looked up, as one of the envoys rushed inside, we have incoming enemies, she saw. There was things coming down from the sky, with resistance force in them, and leading them was Shino Abermi. Archers, fire, said Matsuri. The enemy obliterated their main force along with their commander, but now they were falling from the sky. An air assault. Contact Gaara-sama. All fighters, to arm. Yell Matsuri. Negative, sir, we can't get in touch with Gaara-sama. The first wave of fighters has landed inside of the fortress. Meanwhile, Shino was going down to the ground, as the new invention parachutes have worked greatly. Behind him, the battlefield was still burning with their hellfire, and soldiers were still screaming. He closed his eyes as he knew full well that he just caused the deaths of thousands upon thousands of his men. But the trick had worked. The enemy forces that were commandeered by Gaara seemed to be wrapped in some sort of giant sand shell. The Reich commander was definitely alive, Shino could feel it. But he doubted that Gaara had any energy left to fight after creating that thing, as he dropped several explosive notes as he threw them towards the fortress. As the explosions created more panic in the several Reich soldiers. Even if they had regained their self-confidence, the outcome of this fight was already clear. Now charge, said Shino, as the Black Lancers, who had a number of 7,000, started to land deep inside the fortress. With their commander out of action and facing the Black Lancers, the Reich soldiers inside fell rather quickly. Many tried to put up a defense, but they failed. Beside him, Shino could see the look in Konohamaru's eyes as the boy simply was disgusted at the way he gained victory. The Mizukage, said Konohamaru bitterly, is dead, and so are our men, but the fortress is ours. Link up with the others and mop up the remaining fighters. Don't harm the ones who wish to surrender, even though I doubt they will lay down arms at this point, said Shino. Konohamaru grabbed Shino by the collar as the others went to intercept, but Shino raised his hand and stopped them. As Konohamaru was crying, "You kill our man! How could you, Commander?" he asked. "Hate me all you want. You don't know how important this victory was for our people. This is war, Konohamaru, and sometimes there is no choice," Shino said. Even in the midst of the battle, Konohamaru's hands shake as he looked at his commander who had betrayed them. Shino killed off 2 Kages and thousands of the resistance soldiers. The Black Lancers who were loyal to Shino alone didn't suffer any casualty, but the others, all of them died. As Konohamaru removed his hand from Shino's collar, as Neji came, the fortress commander, a girl called Matsuri, has ordered her remaining forces to lay down arms. There are still some that refuse to surrender, but we will eliminate them soon enough. But still, you didn't imagine the Reich soldiers surrendered, did you? Asked Shino. Yeah, I didn't, said Neji. Live and fight another day. Die, a pointless death is a waste of time, said Shino. That does not sound good when you're the one saying it. After all, you, said Neji in a serious tone. I know what I did. And it may sound hypocritical, but the contents still stand. What about the enemy on the battlefield, Shino asked. Mei and her forces were completely wiped out, but it seems like Gaara was able to save a vast majority of his soldiers, said Neji. What is Gaara doing now? They are not attacking, our forces surrender them. If they make a move, we will eliminate them. Victory is ours, Neji said seriously. Offer him the chance to surrender. If he does surrender, bring Gaara straight to me. But restrain him first, said Shino. Very well. Should we inform headquarters? Asked Neji. No, let them be in the dark for a while. Fortify our position across the fortress. Put the prisoners in isolation chambers. The wounded, no matter the side they belong to, must be treated. Pack the bodies in body bags and prepare to send them back home. The right dead should be sent back home as well, but don't do it until you receive my permission. What do you plan to do now? Asked Neji curiously. I have already prepared a delegation of civilians and soldiers from the resistance. Together we shall offer the chance to start negotiations with the Reich, said Shino. And Gaara, along with the captured Reich soldiers, will be your bargaining chip. Along with the fortress, Neji said. Earn a nod from Shino. I want to finish these resistance talk before the headquarters find out what we're up to, Shino said. Very well, Neji said. Time skip. Kakashi flinched as Tsunade slammed her hand on the table, breaking it in two. He could sympathize with the woman, but that doesn't mean he agreed with the way she reacted. But then again, Tsunade wouldn't be Tsunade if her temper did not explode on bad news. Recheck it, said Tsunade. I've already done it twice, the news is correct, said Kakashi. She rubbed her forehead as a tired sigh escaped from her lips. Things just gone from bad to worse, as the Sarutobi fortress has fallen. And when it got out fully, nothing would stop panic from spreading across the Reich. There was only so many setbacks the people could take before fear started to spread through all of them. And when fear take control, there is chaos and mayhem. The enemy commander relayed this message through to 200 of our soldiers. He released them as a good faith of gesture, said Kakashi. Then there is no doubt in his claim, our strongest defense has fallen. Who is the enemy commander? Said Tsunade. Aberame Shino. Kakashi wins as Tsunade grabbed a nearby vase and smashed it into the wall, into pieces. Damn that brat, if only I had known, he would be so much trouble, she said. What are your intentions? Asked Kakashi, as Tsunade was the head of the civilian government. If they were to send their army to capture the lost fortress, then they would need the approval from the council. Something that only Tsunade could grant. The only exception would be an emergency decision taken by the Empress, but he doubted that Haku would consider anything, given the grave situation. What are our chances of capturing that fortress? Said Tsunade. Very few. Our army is stretched as far as possible to defend our vast border. Pulling soldiers away from their posts will only open the holes for the resistance, and the situation will only get worse after that. Black Ops asked Tsunade. Not possible either. There are nearly 7,000 resistant fighters in that fortress. They are called the Black Lancers. They are the best the enemy has to offer. And they also have 4,500 of our soldiers as prisoners, along with Gaara. If we try to any attempt of retaking, they will execute our men. We cannot suffer that many casualties, and Naruto will never forgive us if we let Gaara die. Tsunade sighed tiredly. Every word Kakashi said was indeed true. In their current situation, the Reich didn't have the strength to fight off this threat. The only thing they could do was defend their territory until their leader got back on their feet. That was their only best chance of surviving. And even if they had the means, she could not attack because it would get Gaara killed. He was an important member of their family, the youngest one in fact, as he was like a little brother to Naruto, and heads would roll if anything happened to him. You know Shino better than any of us. You were his teacher after all, said Tsunade, as Kakashi looked away. He won't attack further. Shino's strength is stealth and deception. He's not a frontline fighter, plus the fact that 2 Kages died in his operation would be a great blow to his reputation. But I believe he knew they were going to die. He's one devious person when it comes to planning. So you believe his offer for negotiations is genuine? Since a resistance leader will have his head for so many casualties, Tsunade asks. To the other Kages, the loss of 10,000 fighters is a severe blow. Hero or not, Shino is going to face a trial or execution. The thing about that boy is that his mind is always focused on the bigger picture. If he believes sacrifices are necessary for long-term goals, then he will make them without even a flinch, even if it means sacrifice his own life to make what he believes in come true. That is the kind of person he is. A dangerous element, said Tsunade. Whatever it may be, the final decision will have to be handled by you. I will leave that part to you. I will go and handle Kurenai, said Kakashi, as he chuckled when Tsunade shot him a mock glare. Slacker, always leaving difficult tasks to others. You haven't changed a bit. As Kakashi gave her his famous eye smile. Tsunade-sama, you're more smart and intelligent. You can handle the situation better than me. As Tsunade grunted. Time skip, Haku's eyes were closed, as she just heard everything from Tsunade, as they were in the room with Naruto lying on the bed. As right now everything was seemed to be falling apart, it was like the Reich life was connected to the leader. Since Naruto was in pain himself and struggling, his kingdom was also suffering from the same pain and struggling as well. He was the sun that illuminated all of their life, and it was their duty to protect that light. I agree to the negotiation, said Haku calmly, shocking Tsunade. Empress. As Haku gave her a gentle smile. Don't mistake my intentions, Tsunade. We will make this work in our favor. We still have a few cards to play. I cannot under any circumstances let Gaara or the captive soldiers die or be in prison of the enemy for years. They are our family. Please have faith in me. But the Reich never negotiates with rebels, said Tsunade. The people, Tsunade, that is what the Reich is. Not Naruto, not any of us. Despite everything, this kingdom is a hope for people from different backgrounds, different beliefs, where they can all come and band and live together in peace. To protect this place is Naruto's wish, and this is mine as well. To give our children a better future than ours, this is what we should aim for, explained Haku with a smile on her face as she caressed her belly. The rebels have demanded that Kurenai be released and be made a part in these negotiations. They consider her their leader, even Shino, said Tsunade. As Tsunade was quite worried, the relationship between Kurenai and Haku was quite tense, as the both of them had an unending love for the man who was currently asleep. Haku had exploded with rage when Naruto was badly wounded, and she allowed the massacre of every resistant fighter that participated in that assassin attempt. But since Kurenai and her aides were already granted asylum by Naruto, she did not allow them to get killed. But in order to release her anger, she imprisoned Kurenai in a villa, isolated, never once allowing Kurenai to visit her former lover. As Tsunade could only imagine the agony that Haku put Kurenai through, knowing that Naruto was fighting for his life and she would never know when was his last moments. I've been a terrible person these past few months, said Haku sadly. Why do you say that? Asked Tsunade. Humans always pursue something they can't reach. Looking back, I finally understand that Naruto is not only mine alone. He's a person that belongs to every person of this world, even Kurenai, UI. Haku, you said Tsunade. Naruto is a free bird that flies in the sky. It is not my right to keep him chained down. He has been a perfect husband and life partner to me. He accepts me regardless of my past and shortcomings. Just like all of us, Kurenai is a part of his life. By keeping them apart, I am denying both of them their rights. But, said Tsunade, but she was cut off. Allow Kurenai to visit him if she wants. I am the Empress and the wife. His wife. I will no longer feel threatened by her, said Haku. She then went out of the room to prepare for the negotiations. "You have truly become a wonderful woman, Haku," said Tsunade. Time skip. Kurenai's lip was trembling as she stepped inside his chambers, as Kakashi and Tsunade were in the room. Even though Kakashi trusted her with Naruto's life, Tsunade didn't, as Kurenai found it hard to believe that Haku allowed her to visit, given what she knew that she felt for him. 6 months. That was the entire period of her suffering, as she dreaded each day about Naruto's health. She could still remember the nightmare she suffered on several occasions, as she was in most of them stabbing him in the back, as it took all of her willpower to not shed tears, seeing him like this, so fragile. Fighting for dear life, it was something that she never wanted to see. For her, Naruto has always been the strong-willed man who faced every challenge head-on. Even when they were friends, lovers, enemies, she has always admired him for facing the challenge and never giving up. As she grasped his hand, as she raised up and touched her cheek, and the satisfaction she felt, she couldn't even describe it in words. "You truly seized the entire world, Naruto," said Kurenai happily. There was no sarcasm or bitterness in her voice. In the past few months she gained understanding on the Reich that her lover formed. Everything that Naruto explained that day, about the government, about society, everything. This was truly a wonderful place. Even if she was under house arrest, she along with Sakura and Anko had applied for citizenship in the Reich. After a few decisions with Kakashi, who was the current ruler right now, their request was granted, and they were citizens in this kingdom, and subjects of the man sleeping beside her. They had left everything, their fate, their future in his trust. But she still had doubt about Valkyrie's last phase, which Naruto revealed to her 3 years ago. Everything had went exactly towards plan, and when he woke up, she was sure that he would do the last part. It will spell the end of ninjas and usher mankind into a new age. She didn't know what the future had in store for her, or her relationship with Naruto from this point on. But she no longer had the will or desire to fight against him. Instead, she wanted to stay by his side. She wanted to join him, she wanted to be with him. "I promise you, Naruto, I will end this futile war which has troubled you so much," she said, as she started to cry. "No matter what happens from now, I want you to know," as she was wiping away the tears, "I will always love you," she said. "You will never ever be alone." And then she just sat there, as she just stared at his beautiful face. As Kakashi and Tsunade didn't say a word, as they could see how much she truly loves him. Time skip, silence in the room, as it was quite ironic that the greatest decision in the world would be happening over a video conference, but they couldn't have met face to face, as that would probably cause a disaster, and that would erase any hope for peace. As Haku was there, along with Tsunade and Kakashi at her right side. On the resistance side, Shino sat at the table with Neji, as Kurenai was also over on Haku's side. As to their surprise, Shino gave them all a bow, as they just nodded back in response. "Shino, there is no need for this," said Kurenai. A part of her was angry because he was the reason of Naruto's state, but she could not deny the fact that Shino was just a soldier who simply followed orders. As Ayam was also there, as she was on Shino's side, as she was the leader of the civilian forces. As Kurenai smiled at her. "Hello Ayam, how are you doing? How is Tuka doing?" "He's just fine, and I'm fine myself." "Is Naruto alright?" Ayam asked. As Kakashi quickly leaned forward and explained this woman's relationship with Naruto, that she and her father was one of the few in Konoha that respected Naruto and treated him good back then. This brought a smile to Haku's lips as she looked at Ayam in a new light, as she smiled and gave a nod. "He's recovering. Thank you for everything you did for the Emperor." "I am glad to hear it. Can you tell him? My father misses him. He was our biggest customer after all," Ayam said. "I'll definitely tell him," said Haku with a smile. "Thank you, Your Highness," said Ayam gratefully. Shino tapped on the table as a picture of Gaara, as he was slightly injured, along with a few resistance soldiers there with him. As Haku's cold gaze returned, "In the name of one nation and their leaders, soldiers like us has fight this unending war for the past 3 years. I won't say who was right or not. What I do know is that this has to end now. for the millions of lives that we have drawn into this conflict, Shino said. As Haku remained silent, just listening to what the man has to say. As Kurenai was looking at the paper that was sent to them, the agreement by Shino, as she would be the one to stop all of this as Shino wanted to talk to her. As Kurenai took a deep breath as she then looked Shino straight into the eyes. Shino, under no circumstances can the Reich allow the formation of an independent, neutral nation. Not only would be a rival to the Reich, but it won't survive because your former leaders and comrades will not allow it. Your nation will get attacked by both powers and the war will only intensify. This is my personal view, one which I share with the Empress. Do you understand? Asked Kurenai. Shino sighed as he couldn't deny the logic and truthful in her words. I understand it is simply cannot be done in this era, Shino said. Then before we move forward, I want to confirm some facts. Are the Kazekage and the Mizukage really dead? And how many casualties did both sides suffer? Questioned Kurenai. Yes, the two Kages are dead, along with 10,000 from the resistance. The Reich casualties, around 5,000 soldiers. Relief and sadness coursed through Haku's face. The relief that two of the leaders of the resistance were dead, and that so many of our soldiers perished. I would then like to propose a surrender. But first, answer a question of mine, Empress, said Shino. What is that? Haku asked. What determines the right to govern the world? Pride and honor are necessary for people to govern over others, said Haku, as Shino smiled hearing that. Very well answered, but I have a different answer, he said. And what is that? Haku asked. It is the readiness to destroy. Destroy? Said Snavi curiously. The will to destroy the world and ourselves. Haku clenched her fists, and the look on her face, if looks could kill, Shino would probably be dead right now. As it stands, you have lost Sarutobi Fortress. It gave the resistance the opportunity to strike deep in your homeland. Your armies are stretched thin right now. Morale is low. Your strongest fighter and supreme commander is unconscious. If an invasion happened right now, you will lose half of your kingdom. Your defeat is imminent, Shino said. As he then saw a look appear in Haku's eyes. You overestimate yourself, worm, she said. What? Said Shino. She flicked her hand as a small side scream appeared. As what Neji and Shino saw shocked them. Looking into her eyes made them realize that Naruto was a kind one of this couple. This is, said Kurenai in horror. For there, in front of their eyes was the ruins, destruction of the largest supply base for the resistance. Thousands of weapons, piles of food, water, medical aid, ammunition. Basically the entire lifeline that allowed the resistance to wage war. All of it gone. If that wasn't enough, the 450 soldiers who were there to protect the base were all gone as well. But guys, to be ending this episode right here. If you want to see the next part of this or know what to do, like, subscribe, comment down below and turn that bell notification stay posted. Remember, share to all of your friends in your social media platform and stay in tune for the rest of the what ifs coming your way, well, tomorrow. So yeah guys, I'm out for now. Peace.